Today, we're talking about a high-stakes geopolitical chess game. But the pieces on this board aren't kings and queens. They're the essential, almost invisible ingredients that power our entire modern world. And whoever wins this game, well, they could control the future of technology itself.
It's a strange question, right? I mean, one fits in your pocket, the other breaks the sound barrier. But believe it or not, they share a critical, hidden dependency on the very same thing.
And the answer is literally buried in the earth. It's found in these reddish-brown soils, which are loaded with a group of materials called rare earth elements. These are the real foundation of, well, just about everything, from our high-tech society to our national security. So, to really understand this global race, we first need to get a handle on what these elements actually are and, why they've become such a massive deal. Okay, so first things first, that name, rare earth, is a little misleading. They're not actually all that rare in the Earth's crust. The real challenge, the hard part, is that they're incredibly difficult and pretty polluting to mine and separate into something usable. What makes them so special are their unique magnetic and electronic properties, which basically unlock incredible technological powers. And those properties are exactly why they matter so much. We're talking about the powerful, lightweight magnets inside an EV's motor and those giant wind turbines. They are absolutely crucial for defense systems, everything from jet engines to missile guidance. And yep, they're inside the smartphone you're probably holding right now. And listen, this is not some niche market. The total value of all the industries that depend on these elements is a staggering $82 trillion. I mean, it's a number that's hard to even wrap your head around. And when a market is that valuable, it stops being just about economics. It becomes a matter of national power. So, you have to ask, how did one single country come to dominate the supply of these critical materials? Well, let me tell you, this was no accident. It was a deliberate, strategic play that's been decades in the making. This quote really says it all. The foresight here is incredible. As far back as 1992, Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping made this powerful comparison. He knew, way back then, that these minerals would be for the 21st century what oil was for the 20th, a source of immense strategic power. And based on that vision, China launched this huge, all-in government strategy. The goal wasn't just to dig some minerals out of the ground. No, the goal was to control every single step of the process, from the mining to the processing, all the way to manufacturing the final high-tech products. So just how effective was that strategy? Well, the results are staggering. Let's just break down the numbers step by step, and you'll see what I mean. It all starts at the source, right? With mining. China controls well over half of all rare earth mining across the entire globe. But honestly, that's just the beginning of the story. Because here's where the real chokehold is: separation. That's the super complex chemical process of turning raw ore into individual elements. And here, China's control skyrockets to nearly 90%. Let's move one step further to refining. The control just gets tighter, 90%. This is where almost all of the world's rare earths go to become usable metals. And here it is, the final, most important piece of the puzzle. China completely dominates the production of the most valuable end product, those high-powered magnets that go into everything. We're talking a mind-blowing 92%. This gives them control not just over a raw material, but over the technology itself. So how on earth did they do it? Well, the sources point to a few key things. Decades of massive government subsidies that basically drove competitors out of business, combined with lower labor costs and, for a long time, pretty relaxed environmental rules for what is a notoriously polluting industry. One of the sources, the Atlantic Council, uses this really fascinating analogy. They compare it to the ancient Chinese board game of Go. The strategy isn't just about controlling your own resources. It's about investing all over the world, securing mines and supply chains to completely surround your potential competitors and basically deny them access. And having this near total control of the market, well, it has a really dangerous implication. It means it can be used as a geopolitical weapon. And it has been used that way. This timeline shows a really clear pattern. Back in 2010, they cut off exports to Japan during dispute. Then in 2019, they threatened the US during the trade war. And just last year, in 2023, they escalated again, this time restricting the export of the technology needed to process rare earths. They're locking down not just the materials, but the know-how too.
Now, you can bet that this pattern of escalation set off some serious alarm bells in Washington and Brussels. So how is the West responding? Well, the rest of the world is now scrambling to build an alternative. What's interesting is that the US and the EU are taking different but kind of complementary approaches. The US is laser focused on national security, funding a huge strategic stockpile for its defense needs. The EU, on the other hand, is all about industrial policy, setting these ambitious targets to build up its own mining, processing, and recycling capabilities. Over on the U.S. side, the investment is massive. The Pentagon is spending up to $1 billion to build up its reserves of key minerals, things like cobalt for batteries and antimony for defense parts. I mean, this is the biggest push of its kind since the Cold War. And Europe's strategy? It's all spelled out in its Critical Raw Materials Act. They've set these really clear goals for 2030. Get 10% of their supply from their own mines, process 40% of it right there at home, and source a full quarter of it from recycling. It's a huge, huge push towards self-sufficiency. So what we're all witnessing right now is really the start of a new global competition, a great mineral race that is going to define the technological landscape for decades to come. The race is well and truly on. And that leaves us all with a really critical question. Will this new competition create more resilient, secure supply chains for everyone? Or are we just watching the world's most vital elements become the flashpoint for its next great conflict?